Right, hello. This is to primarily for the players that couldn't make my session 2 of Alien Destroyer of Worlds. So this is to inform you what happens so you don't feel left out, so you're able to jump back in and continue on. So we left off at the insurgent compound. So an idea was formulated where I'll try and keep this pretty brief. I think that might be best. An idea was formulated to have two people go in through the gate with the APC, driving inside it, and basically the other four come in over on the Cheyenne, over on the rooftop, rappel in, take out hostiles, and then come in through the skylight. So that plan was enacted. And as all the different parts went about, and the RPG fires was going up, and it took out the pilot that was driving them, the one of the RPG shots. But then all the rest started missing. So hey, there's that. The guys in the APC, they were staying in the APC, the two of them, and using the two guns of the APC to fire at the insurgents. And the insurgents were there in the courtyard firing back at this APC, peppering it with AK-47 bullets all over the place. The guys in the guard shack managed to set up a smart gun and bring that out in turn 2 to start using against the APC. The Cheyenne, some of the guys, as like one or twos at a time, were started rappelling down into the rooftop and fighting the guy on the roof. Zmierski and Silver were first out of the craft, rappelling down, fighting the guy on the rooftop that had been posted there to defend. And I particularly remember Hammer staying up in the Cheyenne, laying fire down from the Cheyenne, wiping out the RPG guys as soon as he could to try and take away their threat to the vehicle. The APC was getting taking a lot of damage, a lot of small bits of damage. Not enough to set off any particular criticals, but the hull points were creeping down from all the damage it was taking. So both of the occupants decided it was best to jump out and start returning fire there. Mason tried running over to some parked ATVs and using them as cover. There was something like 4 insurgents or more, maybe something like 6 in the end, wasn't it? In the compound, and some in the end ended up running from the house as well over into the complex, into the yard part, the other part of the yard, letting themselves in through the gate and attacking these 2 Marines. So it became really, really unbalanced. And as that one on guard was taken out and the guys started coming in through the skylight into the what would be the first floor of the building, they started sort of sweeping, and they couldn't see anything, but they heard a lot of noise downstairs, a lot of voices. Zmierski went into the guest bedroom and checked it, swept it, found some grenades in there, grabbed them, didn't find anyone. The master bedroom was locked, but it wasn't dealt with at this point, with everything going on. Silver got in, Chaplin got in. Hammer was last one out. He ended up using the craft to give further support fire on more of the insurgents over in the yard, because the 2 Marines there, those being who was it, Iona and Mason, in the yard there that had driven in on the APC, they were kind of outnumbered and starting to get in trouble. In fact, both of them ended up with 1 HP left, respectively. So that was it could have got really serious for them, for those 2. So Hammer's gunship missile fire wiped out 3 insurgents in 1 hit, which really helped to balance the odds. And there was this manic fight for them to try and save themselves and fight off the rest of the insurgents, which they managed to do, and then join everyone else over in the house by letting themselves in. Because by this point, what had basically happened back inside the house is the guys had tried firing grenades down the stairs, setting the whole thing aflame. They couldn't hear the sort of screaming they would expect, shooting the flamer down the stairs as well, they'd expect from doing something like that. They ended up trying to rush downstairs. They rushed down through the dying embers of the flames as the flames were eventually dying back. only to find that there was no one at the bottom of the stairs, no bodies there. But in the main room, they found some more of the insurgents, firing from the building, trying to, prepare. And basically they, prepare for the people to run across in the yard at them. And a little bit of incinerator action from Zmieski to wipe these two out pretty much at the same time. A bit of gunfire as well to help finish them off, put them down. And so some of the Marines, they started sweeping the bottom. They found it to be clear. Others started going back upstairs again. They all reconvened back at the building. And it was kind of at this point that they were wondering where the other voices were. They'd heard other voices. Where the heck are those people, those other voices? And it was sort of, it was decided, yeah, you kind of take a look for them. And there was a bit of searching around, and they couldn't find anyone else hiding. But they did find a trapdoor there in by the kitchenette area. And so the trapdoor led to a escape tunnel. And they took a look down it and flashed a torch down it, and it was long clear. So whatever important person was in there had escaped the compound in time. And they went back up and decided they were going to check this master bedroom. But before they had a chance, some of them that were already up there, the door just flew open from a body being thrown at it. And then another body came out, headless, and then their head rolled out after it. And Chaplin managed to go in first and found this really pale woman there, and it was Wojcik, and she had these black veins all across her skin, and it was really bad looking. And she was just muttering this weird stuff. And they kind of, they got around the room and sort of stared at her and told her, back the hell down, get on your knees, or we'll take you out. This is one of the AWOLs, of course. And she just sort of stares at them, and she's got these like black soulless eyes, and she stared into them with her enthralling gaze ability and just stunned everyone, and then quickly ran towards Chaplin and just like engaged him, tore his arm off. Timber is always losing an arm, it seems, with these characters. So Chaplin, had his arm torn mostly free, and he's just leaning up against the wall there in a pretty bad state. Still unarmed, I might add. There's, hey, and the others are sort of watching on with this enthralling gaze. They can't support and do anything about it. They're like, ah. And the other people are downstairs, and they're trying to fire up through the floorboards from the floor above to try and hit. But unfortunately, because it was blind firing, it was randomized, and Chaplin was getting hit from that as well. So, hey, great. And then she grabbed Chaplin when the smart gun was fired, and it couldn't find a location because it was up through the floorboards, but it was tearing lots of little puncture holes as it was firing. But she heard the spinning of the barrels, whatever sort of enhanced freaking thing. She's called an anathema. That's what she was. And she grabbed Chaplin and turned him and used him as a shield, basically. And she'd punched a hole straight through him with her fist, unarmed. So that was pretty bad. And then everyone came to their senses, and they managed to take her out, and they managed to fire flames up through the holes there, up into the room a bit, and create these this thing, this damage on it. And that's when she started changing. That's when this whole gruesome narrative started happening. And to cut it short, it was as if her skeleton inside mutated, her head elongated, and her skeleton stepped out of her skin. It sloughed the skin off, so that there was like this skull type of face with these black pits instead of eyes. And then the rest of the body was alien, basically. This, like, the spine elongated, slid down and became a tail, and the head just kind of like cracked out through the skin of, and made this elongated head, and it was just mutated in front of them, and they were left with this, basically a kind of hybrid human alien. I mean, I know xenomorphs are already that, but this was like some weird, messed up other kind of thing that threw even the alien experts in the group, those that knew Alien, which introduced yet another thing as well, because you saw abominations before, and here we've met anathemas, whatever the hell they are, and whatever they're caused by, and now you've met a body burster. So it bursts out of your own skin, and basically, yeah, the teeth all shattered out, and the eyeballs rolled out and sagged down the skin, and just wearing the face still of Wojcik, and that just like slid off this alien skull face that was just left staring at them. And this thing was mental. It took ass loads of damage to bring down, but finally they managed to bring it down. But Chaplin was thrown into a corner, completely destroyed. Basically, they started unleashing rocket fire and all that onto it, and just exploding hammer backwards against the wall and winding him as he was still partially in the room, and knocking Chaplin into the corner in just a awful heap. And the whole place was destabilized, and she ended up smashing through the floor to get at Zmierski, who's below, firing all this stuff up, and the floor just caved in, and she's there, fighting them there in the kitchen area, and she leaps off the tiling at him to try and finish him off, but she still can't kill him, and everyone else gets to her first and wipes her out. And it was around about at that time that the sirens start going off, and there's a crocodile ship coming in, which is a UPP lander, and all basically the sirens are going off. The air raid sirens are all going off, and they get a communication from Major Hatfield saying, okay, shit's just got crazy, get the hell back to base for immediate evac. And then it cut, and there was just white noise. So they managed to get back into the Cheyenne by remote operating it, just about, with a really high skilled roll from the APC's computer over to the yard, and just in time they managed to fly the Cheyenne dropship out of there as the Crocodile dropship brought in all of these elite UPP forces. And as they're leaving, they hear this Russian accent basically tell them, hey, we've just missed them. We'll find them. They will never escape me, kind of thing. And him and his entourage, he happens to be Vice Major Davidovich, a synthetic UPP, with his squad of combat model David 7 series combat models. Just mad. So yeah, this whole like team, there's like this stalking kind of back and forth thing going on here now. They know it's happening, and there's this huge like World War II kind of element. It's gone from being like in Kandahar, where it's just, into like World War II, where there's just flyers and bombers and just dogfights and just all this stuff going on, and landers all coming down across the city, and crocodile landers and UPP forces starting to be deployed on the ground and taking over the colony in places. And some people are scared and running away. Some people are cheering, hey, you've come to liberate us from the United Americas, damn them. The space commies. And the space commies are here now. They've invaded, yay, or oh dear. And so yeah, all that kind of continued and went on as they take this flight through the city. A missile hits them. They manage to jaff the missile, but the RPG behind manages to hit them, which won't be chaffed away, or in this case, jaffed away. It's and it takes them out of the sky. Emergency alarm starts beeping. All of this was sound effects, by the way. Amazingly, the sound effects were all loaded in there for Roll20 to handle all this. I extensively searched so very hard to be able to prepare this to work. This was my grand moment, really, in the GMing world. This moment in time, for what is one of the grandest games I've ever run. Quite frankly, it's just so beautifully written. Yeah, so their ship goes down, minor scratches and bruises, but they're okay. Otherwise, they're in the street. They're having to hoof it now on foot. And so they're doing that on foot. Chaplain's gone, obviously. Let's see what else happened. They've got tanks around them fighting and explosions and gunfires all around them, and they're trying to creep through and not be seen. There was 3 UPP trying to execute 7 civilians. So the team managed to get into this gunfight with them and wipe them out. So there was that at least. And that kind of went on into them eventually finding an abandoned APC, and they looked over to the side over by a wall, and they saw a Marine that had been stashed over behind the wall, saw some blood on the wall. So they didn't start up the APC straight away because they figured it's abandoned, it's stripped. Is it booby trapped? So they checked it for booby traps, and yes, it was booby trapped. So they got rid of the booby trap, they got in the APC, and they started driving it towards the barracks. That's going to save them some time rather than being on foot. Way hey. But the captain very cleverly pointed out that he wanted to check for IEDs or anything like that going on. It was actually suggested by Craig, back before he put the IEDs question in the mind of is there one there at the vehicle? But of course that would be under the ground, so that wouldn't be. But it put it in the captain's head to be searching for them. So specifically scanning with the APC computer, looking for threats along the ground itself. And, all this war is just playing out all around them, and buzz and zoom and alarms. Oh, and the radiation alarm goes off from Fort Nebraska as well, meaning there's been a radioactive leak from the base of some kind, which Mason's able to identify, of course. Oh my God. So yeah, there's that. So they kind of fight on. They drive on, I should say, and it was at a certain point where there's a vehicle that's parked up onto the street, and they left a narrow little bit of road to drive through, and so they hit the vehicle with a shell attack, and it blows it up. And that's when the ambushers reveal themselves, and that's when the scans showed a mine that had been situated on that one bit of road that you can only just drive through. And that's when the ambush was set from Davidovich and his full David squad. And they basically start coming out from the undergrowth with their AK-40-47s. Those guns are not as good as the pulse rifle the Marines use, of course. But, yeah. And these Davids, as the fires kind of, of the vehicle there, the driver, Zmierski, deflates the tires somewhat, so that he can do it from the computer on the ship, on the APC, so that you can drive over the wreck and then back down on the other side, reinflate the tires, and start trying to drive past this ambush here with these Davids on foot and Davidovich. There's a little in-joke there for Russian speakers and such. It goes from being like a World War II-y kind of Kandahar kind of encounter with like a bit of spooky, supernatural horror thrown into just, it turns into Terminator. So this all of these Davids plus the Vice Major start running after the APC, and it's like a real, like, proper, like, Terminator chasing you kind of moment, where they're using enhanced running ability and they're catching up to the APC that's full gunning it. So I mean, that's scary shit. All these Davids chasing you, David 7 models chasing the APC. That was frightening. That frightened me, even just as a GM, to think about that, you know, being pursued by these things on foot that are catching you. Oh my God. And you're trying to turn corners and that, so you're trying to slow down, but they barely do at all, you know, for those kind of problems. And, you know, over terrain and over obstructions and things, and they just run up and onto it and keep going down the other side, and, you know, fluid they're moving, following this APC. It's really bad. And, you know, they're gaining on the APC, and the guys in the back, they're firing the APC guns. They're using the minigun, and they're firing the pulse plasma turret at these Davids and knocking some out and wounding them, and firing the turret across and lashing bullets into them, and the Davids are just jerking back and then keep running, and more bullets hit them and they jerk back and keep running. It's just horrible, like a real Terminator nightmare. A whole load of them, just there was loads. And they're just getting closer and closer, and the guys decide, what the hell are we going to do? They try jamming them so they can't put comms out for allies to others, so they successfully managed to jam them at least. And then the idea is come up with from Captain Silver, I think it was Captain Silver. It's Captain Silver that ends up doing it, basically opening the moving vehicle, sliding the door open while it's in use, overriding the security locks that lock it down while it's moving like that at that speed. Really dangerous maneuver, really dangerous maneuver, and only did it by having Iona buckle into a seat nearby. I think it was Iona, and in the harness, and basically tie a restraint around the captain, who then grabbed the incinerator and leant out of the sliding door and starts trying to flame these freaking David 7s that are just running after the APC, getting closer, and starts like flaming them. And it's not enough, because more are coming from behind, and one goes down in the flames and another one just runs straight through where he dropped, and it's just really bad. And then Iona tried coming alongside, and yeah, it was Iona who came alongside after the captain was secured in, still hanging kind of out of the edge there, and without a rope to protect him, of course. And also started firing out of the door there of this really fast moving top speed fast moving vehicle. And by this point, some of the Davids have caught up, and they're actually running alongside the vehicle. And the commander has just disappeared. 1 minute he's there, next minute he kind of runs behind the vehicle. He never emerges again. No one can see him on any scans, none of the screens, none of the cameras, nothing. He's not showing. What the hell? And so they're still blasting some of the other Davids and knocking them down. And there's just like a 2-3 left or whatever, and they start shredding them out. And then worst thing, the flamer jams. And what then happens is Silver is panicking at the flamer jamming, and these things like running right alongside her, and she drops the damn flamer, and it drops out of the vehicle, skids under the vehicle's undercarriage, gets caught in one of the wheels, and it basically takes the wheel offline, and the whole thing is just sparking and shredding and splintering up into the tires and into the under thing. It's just through the snow. So this APC's going, and they got this whole thing where they were trying to evade them, and they came to this roundabout before as well, with the David still chasing them, and they had to try and go the wrong way around the roundabout to try and throw them off. There wasn't other traffic coming anyway, but carried on through. But of course they started skidding on the ice and lost control of the vehicle, and they spun out once and it spun back round the other way, and then managed to steer into the spin out and then level it back out again and keep driving. It was proper Terminator action movie, which you'd never expect to come from Alien, but oh my fucking Christ. I mean, if the insurgency compound was mental, this was like another mental. This was crazy. This was like proper action movie, like end of an action movie kind of Act 3 stuff. But it's Act 2. We only played Act 2 here, guys. So, they get through all of that, but of course the vehicle's slowed down from the incinerator, the group's only incinerator, being stuck under the wheel. Yasmieski's lost his incinerator because, the captain grabbed it while he's driving. And there it is. Yeah. So, and then this other one's alongside Iona and starts shooting through the open door, and knocks Iona back with the blast of the shots, which puncture into the armor, knocks Iona back. But then some of the shots where he's lying on his back tear some of his toes off, rip through the boot and tear some of his toes off. So he's lying there doing a real proper Peter Griffin, but with toes ripped off. So really, really bad state. So he's kind of broken there with that, and the David basically jumps straight into the vehicle at the captain, and they kind of roll back into the vehicle, and he starts like choking Captain Silver out, Long Joan Silver out, and that's happening, and she's fighting for her life, and Mason comes along and manages to shoot it enough so that Captain Silver can kick it off back out of the thing, and Iona's lying there, my toes, and just absolute madness. It's like, did anyone see that dude with the beret that was leading them? Did anyone see the dude with the maroon beret? The one that looked like a David as well, the one with the Russian accent. What the hell? The UPP have got a bunch of Davids, but this one's, the commander, the proper kind of elite mental one. Next thing they know, as if the Terminator theme wasn't enough, this fist smashes down through the top of the APC, and they're like, oh my god, what? And so that happened. That's effectively its attack. That turn, smashing its fist straight through the APC with insane strength. But, these things have been juiced up, basically, beyond legal means. They've been given some sort of something in the gyros there. It's just fun, isn't it, to play the Terminator kind of bullshit. And, the guys are panicking. They're like, oh my Christ. And they can see on the computer, because they've got great field vision on the screens there within the APC of just what's outside the APC, because it's contained. It's not like windows you stare out. You check through the computer monitors on board, and you can kind of see what's happening. And they can see that Davidovich is on the top, standing there, and he's got a grenade. And the bastard's cooking it. So the hole he's just made, he's cooking it, and then he's going to pop it down through the hole into the closed container with all of them in, driving. Now, I'm sure you've seen World War II type of movies or things like that, where that's how you take a tank out, right? And it's just bad for everyone inside. And while the APC is a fair bit bigger than the space you'd get in. It's quite roomy, an APC. That would be bad. That would be really bad business, especially for people like Iona, who's just lying there in a terrible state. Oddly enough, though, with a fragmentation grenade, because of its spread, if you're low, it's supposed to be the safest place to be, because the spread will go like that, the dispersal, and you're kind of there, so you get the minimum possible contact from it if there's no cover to be had, that is. Yeah. So there it is. He's cooking this grenade and he's going to pop it down through the hole. So there wouldn't even be enough time to chuck it back out of the door. And then they'd have to make hard decisions. Will someone jump on it? What's going to happen here? So yeah, he's cooking this grenade. He's about to throw it in. It comes to their turn. Back round to the players. So what Hammer decides to do, being a psychopath, is he's going to run in, jump up, get his arm up through the hole, grab Davidovich's leg by the ankle, and with great strength he pulled on it, got it over the hole, and just yanked the foot straight in through the hole. So that Davido, and I had them do opposed rolls here for this, and he, they were going all out, burning all their story points up, burning everything up to try and do this, pushing rolls. People, ended up getting to like the 6 and 7 stress level here from all of this. I mean, it was bad. They were fighting to survive. It was just hell. And this leg is dangling in through this into this APC, and the rest of him still, he's kneeling with his one leg dangling in the APC, and they all start attacking the leg. And they tried like driving through terrain to try and knock him off, and he leans back and it just like bangs him a bit, but that banged my phone. It knocked the phone off. It knocked it off. It dislodged it. That's animated, man. That's actually proves the example of what they were actually trying to do there, and it did it. It might go again. So bad and effective was that. He hung on, and basically the cooked grenade he ended up just having to throw away, because there's no room for him to pop it in through the hole, because his leg is filling the hole basically. So they're yanking on this leg so he can't get it free. And the weapons, they're trying to target him to take him out, but they're all like freaking out and panicking because they can see he's loading up another grenade and it's about to go. So what they ended up doing